Yeah, what's up, Isaac? Okay, so this is Breath of the Wild Trial of the Sword. First thing to note is you can take boosts into the run with you, so I'm gonna eat an attack up that lasts 30 minutes, and also a full recovery +4. And that'll make Link's hearts maximized, as well as give him 30 minutes of an attack boost, which is gonna be really useful for this run. I didn't eat it here at the start, but I also ate a full stamina boost, so I have 5 stamina wheels right now instead of 3. And this run is kind of based around a maxed file. You can run this on a completed file of this game without having to, you know, worry about having a limited amount of hearts or stamina or whatever. You can have as much as you want. So we run this on a maxed file, and you can take any boosts in with you. This does include rune upgrades, so I have bombs plus, stasis plus, all that good stuff. It's going to be really useful throughout this. So this first room here, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to bomb through these bokoblins with one of the bombs plus. Bombs plus do a lot of damage, and these guys are not behaving. Yeah, sometimes they'll run in a weird pattern right there, and you can't blow them up all 3 at a time, you know, simultaneously. So it gets a little annoying. And there's a lot of things like that in this run that's dealt with, like RNG of enemy movements and RNG of getting arrows and stuff. And you're going to see from this room, we have our first instance of RNG of trying to get arrows. Arrows are so important in this run, and we need a ton of them, so I'm going to try to lure these bokoblins up here. That one is not noticing me at all. Okay, I got all but one. That's no big deal. And I got bad RNG on the arrows right there, unfortunately, and this guy didn't die either. So I'm gonna have to grab some extra arrows from this barrel right here because the next room requires quite a lot of arrows, so I'm gonna come over here. And that's basically a coin flip right there with those arrows. If you get at least 10, you're good to go. If you don't get at least 10, you're kind of, you know, you're just gonna lose 11 seconds or so. I also like to use bombs for this room at the start. I just find it to be a little bit more optimal. But yeah, you just gotta shoot these choose once, and they can get a little annoying. These, especially that first set right there, they can get a little bit close to you, and Link will take some burn damage when they're dying. It's not the biggest deal, it's pretty low damage, but the little time it takes for him to take the damage can, you know, stop you from shooting them quickly. Alright, so this next room we have coming up, this is one of my least favorite rooms. And the reason for that is because we actually need to get quite a lot of weapons from some of the enemies on this tower. And the weapons can fall down, enemies can be in weird positions, things can go wrong really easily here. It's not really that hard of a level, it's just that there's a lot of things that can happen that make it difficult. And I'm lucky I did a Cryonis block jump right there because I just got momentum glitch, which actually helped me from not falling off the tower right there, so that's really good. Alright, so I'm gonna bullet time for this bokoblin right here because I don't want to waste my stasis because there's this guy right here and I need to stasis him and get 2 headshots. And I also need that weapon that fell down, so I'm gonna go get that here in a second. And he did not die, I must have missed a headshot. So I'm gonna have to go get his weapon. So that's just an example of what can go wrong in this level. Shoot the guy at the top of the tower, and I gotta find the weapons now. I know one fell all the way to the ground. I see the shield right there. I'm pretty sure one fell all the way down. Okay, there's one, and the sword. Wow, this is horrible. It's right there. Okay, cool. So yeah, that was unfortunate. That can happen, though. And that's one of the disadvantages of using bombs as well, is they can like hit weapons away from the enemies you shoot them with, and it can really suck sometimes. So these moblins here will die to 2 headshots, and I usually like to stasis one of them, so I can just guarantee the 2 headshots. It's pretty nice. And I got pretty lucky there as well. As you notice, this is a skull camp level. Skull camps usually have a lot of explosives inside of them that you can use to kill the enemies, and actually all of the bokoblins that there died to the explosion. So that is actually really lucky right there. Usually they don't, you have to finish them off with a sword or something. Alright, so this is the end of this first set of levels. We have to kill the stone tiles. I'm gonna try to get double hits with our spin attack here. And that, I almost fell off, that would have been bad. But double hits are basically a little thing you can do with spin attacks like this. If you face away at the start, you can sometimes get 2 hits per spin, and it basically speeds up the spin attacks a lot. It's really useful. It can be difficult to do with Taluses sometimes just because it's easy to fall off of them, and you definitely do not want to fall off of a Talus when you're trying to hit it like that. But that overall went pretty well. Alright, so we're at our first rest area, and I'm just going to grab some arrows from one of these boxes here. Some of these chests we're actually going to get later on in future rest areas, but for now, no chests here that we need. And later on I'm probably going to pick up some fairies as well, just for safety. Alright, shoot the electric chew. He's going to zap those Lizalfos over there, and then I'm going to do a Cryonis block jump and wait for these guys to notice me, and I'm going to shoot him in the head with some arrows. And he'll die in 4 hits with headshots and the bow. And usually I try to get a headshot on this guy as well to kind of stun him. But usually you can just go up and hit him with the sword. Alright, since I'm also pretty good on arrows right now, I'm gonna... well, I'll grab the boxes anyways. I just want to be sure. I was almost gonna not grab those. But yeah, personally, I like to make use of Cryonis block jumps in this run a lot. Especially in this room that has all the Lizalfos. There's a couple rooms like this where there's just a lot of water and Lizalfos running around. And the block jumps are useful because there's water everywhere, so you can just do Cryonis wherever you want. But there's also another use for the water you're gonna see in a coming floor that's in the one after this, that we're actually gonna use the water to completely kill some enemies. There's several enemies in this game that just, for whatever reason, cannot swim. So, we're just gonna basically hit them into the water, and they're gonna die. And it's really nice, because it's easy. Alright, headshot the Wizrobe, and I'm gonna stasis him and hit him with 6 hits of the sword, and that's gonna completely kill him. And I hope he's not too high up in the air. Okay, that was almost really scary. Yeah, if you don't kill that Wizrobe, you're gonna lose a lot of time, because he's going to fly around the room and be a time waste. It's unfortunate when that happens. So this room has one of the cooler strats in it. We're going to make use of sneak strikes. You don't really see this too much in normal mode, Trial of the Sword. You'll see it a lot in master mode. But for this room, since these are the black Lizalfos, they have a lot of HP, so I'm going to sneak strike them with the sword. And if you move to the other side of them, they'll turn around and not notice you, and you can sneak strike them in that time. It's kind of funny. Yeah, they're not too smart. I'm gonna do the same thing with this guy over here. This guy will sometimes notice you, though. And it looks like he did, so that's good. And I also took his weapons. I don't really need them. But generally I like having an extra weapon or so for a Hinox that we have to kill coming up in a bit. Just in case I run out of durability on a weapon that we're gonna get. Alright, so this is the level I was talking about that we're going to make use of the water to actually kill some enemies. So you're going to see that here in a second. But first, I gotta make my way on over here. And we gotta take out some of these enemies on these platforms on the way. I guess this is a good time to talk about, enemies that are considered, like, snipers or whatever, that use bows. They tend to have less HP, like those two right there. And same with these blue ones up here. They'll just die faster than other enemies for whatever reason. I don't really understand why. But they will. So one headshot and these guys are toast. Alright, and I'm also going to take out these 2 reds right here before I get up there, because they can cause some issues sometimes with this area. And I'm going to do a Cryonis jump. Get up here. And I'm going to place a bomb behind me with this blue Bokoblin and try to get him to be hit into the water. And I think he got hit into the water? I don't know. Alright, so I'm just gonna come up here and hit these enemies all into the water. And I'm not gonna have to deal with them at all, so it's really nice. And this guy, his positioning can be really weird sometimes. There we go. Alright, good deal. Yeah, this is one of the more difficult rooms in my opinion, but that actually went pretty well, so I'm pretty satisfied with it. Alright, so here we have our second boss room. We have a Hinox. I'm just going to shoot a whole bunch of arrows at him while I'm walking over just to get some extra damage off on him. I'm going to try to get a headshot as soon as I can. And once he starts walking, it can actually be kind of difficult to get headshots. But I'm going to take that knife's broadsword he has on his neck, because it does a lot of damage to him. Making use of Stasis Plus once again, to get a nice stun. And then you just hammer away with him with your weapons. Gotta be really careful here. So I unfortunately didn't get a 2-cycle here, which is a little unfortunate. But I didn't want to risk dying there because I did have some lower health. But yeah, high noxes, they'll go down if you hit them in the eye. And then you can just start swiping at them. But you have to be really careful, especially around their feet, because they do have some armor that you can't hit through. So that's the last room of the beginning trials, and now we have this little area you just have to walk through and pull the Master Sword, and yeah, that's that. But in the next room, we're actually going to be teleported back to the Korok Forest, and I'm going to have to just like menu to get back to the trials, to do the middle trials. Like I said earlier, this is on a completed file. So I've already completed Trials of Sword here, so we actually have to like menu through and to get to the middle trials. But in my opinion, I think the beginner trials are probably the hardest section. Not because there's a lot of tough enemies and stuff like that, but just because the limits of weapons you have and stuff like that tends to make it pretty difficult. And especially in Master Mode, the beginning trials are without a doubt the hardest one. But I think some areas of the final trials can be pretty difficult in normal mode. Alright, so I'm going to heal up again, and heat another attack up and stamina up just to get myself a refresh on that, and now we're going to start the middle trials. So the first room in the middle trials is going to have a whole bunch of updrafts, so we're going to make use of a lot of bullet time and stuff in this, but we have some pretty interesting strat involving bombs here at the start, since I won't have any weapons. I'm going to get some weapons from these bokoblins. The second bomb I'm going to throw can actually be a little difficult, because the updraft like carries the bomb up. And I didn't kill that first guy, so that's a little unfortunate. I didn't get a good bomb angle on him. Alright, so this bow is really important. And for whatever reason, like I said earlier, with the enemies that are kind of considered snipers, they do have less health. So that one that was over there we just killed a second ago, he did have less health than the other ones do. So it's a very strange little thing. It is a very strange little thing why it does that. But yeah, this is one of those rooms that can kind of be hit or miss. Things can go wrong in here. Especially with weapons falling off. That soldier's bow right there, sometimes will just fall off the side and you can't get it, but there's a backup in this next room. Alright, so this room is kind of RNG with positioning of these some whiz ribs at the start. I have to make them fall off into the void. It looks like he's in a good position to fall, so yeah, he fell, and then this one looks good too. So that's good. Okay, that's really good. Yeah, if you miss that, it can be a pain in the ass to actually pull that back. So I'm gonna grab some arrows here. And that bow right there is that backup bow. Yeah, I'm gonna switch to the soldier's bow. Just take these two out here with some bullet time. You can already see the use of bullet time in this area of the trials since we have the updrafts. You just float up whenever you want. It's incredibly useful. Alright, so another instance of where we have to get some good arrow RNG here. We need to get preferably some decent bomb arrows. And some ice arrows are good as well, because there are some fire Lizalfos I'm going to take out coming up soon. So I got 10 ice arrows, which is really good. That's probably best RNG right there. So that's really good. Well, let's hope for some good bomb arrows here. Alright, cool, we got 10 as well. So that's literal perfect RNG for the arrows this time, which is really good. So you can shoot the balloons right there to take out that guy, which I know is what some people do, but you can actually take him out in just one shot since he is considered a sniper. You don't actually need to shoot the balloons. You'd have to shoot 2 balloons to make the platform fall down. Alright, so this next room is one of the ones that I tend to struggle with sometimes. I'm bad at doing parries, but I'm also going to collect some arrows while we wait for this guardian to shoot me. And that was kind of bad. I couldn't get my shield out. There we go. Alright, that was a little sucky. But I did miss that in my PB, so on the splits that's going to be a time save, fortunately. But yeah, there's a room where we have to parry like 6 lasers that comes in the final trials, and it's like a nightmare of a room for me, and I'm horrible at it. Alright, so I'm going to grab a chest here. It's going to give us a falcon bow. The falcon bow is a really good bow. It has really good range, pretty decent damage. It's overall a great bow. It's the most powerful one we have thus far. And this first room here is a pretty interesting room. It goes by pretty quick since we have a long-range bow and some good arrows. And since I have bomb arrows, it's going to be really nice and quick too, because I can just shoot all those 3 at once. And that's that. But yeah, this section of the run is all dark floors. Like, it's dark until you clear all the enemies, so it can be a little bit difficult. But I swapped to ice arrows right here because we have a couple fire Lizalfos here in this part. And they will be instantly killed by ice elemental weapons and arrows. Looks like I missed that one. Man, I can't find him. Okay, there we go. That was kind of bad. But once again, it's another skull camp, so I can shoot this thing right here. If I can aim. Well, I didn't have the bow equipped. I was trying to do all that with a worse bow, and it just was not working. That was kind of stupid. Yeah, this room can sometimes be trolly. It's hard to see those enemies in the dark sometimes. Alright, so this room actually has a weapon I need to pick up from an enemy over here, but I'm going to make use of bullet time and bomb arrows to stun these enemies and then just continually shoot their heads and get a whole bunch of damage off. And that's that. It's pretty easy. Where's the club? I need the club. Dragon Bow Boko Bat. There we go. And I'm just going to shoot this fire Wizrobe with an ice arrow. I'm just going to take him out. So yeah, we actually used to not take these ice arrows, and we used to just shoot all these enemies to death, but they actually do speed things up quite a lot since you can one-hit elemental enemies of opposite type. So it's pretty nice. Alright, so this room's another Guardian that I've got to parry. Very nice. Pretty straightforward, nothing else to do here. Get to watch the cool rave as the Guardian dies. You sound sick? I'm not sick, it's just I'm in a different room right now and my microphone's different. Alright. So here we have a Hinox, which is a pretty straightforward fight. So like I did before, I want to get a headshot as soon as I can, and then do some double hits here. And I'm getting screwed over by his guards he's got down there. Let me take those out real quick. I forgot to take them out. Yeah, if you shoot those with a bomb arrow, it'll just completely destroy them. You don't have to worry about it at all. But it's a little unfortunate what happened there with my club. I was going to use that in the next part of the middle trials to actually take out a Guardian in the little like test of strength area immediately, but unfortunately I don't have it. Usually if you get a perfect cycle there, what will happen is you'll have the weapon at you'll have the weapon with like low durability left on it, and you can just throw it at an enemy and just get double damage and take him out really quickly. Alright, pretty straightforward room here. You just gotta shoot all these Guardians while you're walking over the other side. I try to avoid damage here because it does slow Link down a little bit. But it's pretty straightforward. But this next section of floors is based off of the Test of Strength shrines that you'll find throughout the game. So it's pretty cool. There's a couple enemies that you have to fight in here that are like literally like minor Test of Strengths, major Test of Strengths, etc. And interesting thing about this shrine is actually based this room is actually based around one of the actual shrines in the game. There is a shrine called Kalmakog that this room is literally that shrine, just put in Trial of the Sword for some reason. It's really weird, I don't know why they did that. But I think it's pretty cool how they did that. Doesn't make sense, but it's still cool. Alright, so I picked up that two-hander. That two-hander is going to be used in 2 rooms from now. There are 2 enemies that we're going to have to take out at the same time. But kind of similar deal here, just going to shoot these guys. And I'm going to shoot these ones on the ends because I want to bring them kind of towards the middle to me. While I'm taking out these other 2. Looks like this one didn't want to come over. Alright, pretty good. Alright, so our next room here, there's a really interesting strat that I do here, and I think this is amusing. It's a really clever way to use stasis. So I'm gonna let these guys get pretty close together. I'm gonna stasis one of them. Alright, I kinda got it. Not as cleanly as usual, but that works for me. I can just take this guy out with a sword. Alright, I need your ancient battle axe, thank you. Alright, so here we have one of the major tests of strength guys that we have to take out. And this can be a pretty long fight, but you saw that I took an electric weapon earlier. There's actually kind of like a strat that I do for this that makes this pretty easy to do. Kind of like a stun lock. But I'm gonna get some double hits with this battle axe here at the start. I like to make use of the flurry rushes for the first half of this fight. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stun him a lot so he doesn't start jumping around the room. So I'm going to use that electric wand I got and continually hit him with some electricity. And then cycle that through with some attacks as well. And also, I'm going to get on to the other side of him real quick so I start pushing him towards the exit. Because I was actually pushing him the wrong way right there, and I can just get a closer... and sit close to the exit as I start to kill him. But at this point, he's going to charge up a laser attack. And that laser attack, I can't actually stun him during this. So I just have to sit here and kind of just wail on him until he dies. And hope he doesn't actually shoot me. And that's that. Alright, so that went pretty alright. Yeah, so we don't have too good of a selection of weapons for taking out that guy right there, so I found the strat with that electric rod to be kind of the better thing to do there. Usually what you do with those enemies in the actual shrines in the game is you'll take some really powerful battle axes and you'll just do spin attacks on them with double hits, and then couple that with some elemental arrows to freeze them when they try to do their updraft attack. But since we're limited here, we have to do some other strats. And I think it's kind of interesting to see how weapons and stuff are used in Trial of the Sword versus other stuff. Alright, so we're coming up on the final trial here. The final trials are... they're not that bad. There's some sections of it that I personally find to be pretty difficult. The first section is actually dealing with undead enemies, so enemies that you basically have to, like, you know, hit them down and then kill their head. You can do it like that, or you can either, you can headshot them as well, just to instantly kill them. You'll see what I mean in a bit, but these are basically enemies like the enemies that'll spawn at night throughout the game world. And they can be pretty annoying sometimes. So I'm just gonna heal up again, get my boosts, and we're good to go. And also, something interesting about this first part is it actually is a thunderstorm during this part as well, so we have to be careful about metal weapons. But thankfully, I'm not going to use metal weapons that often here. This part generally tends to have a lot of metal weapons on the ground, so they'll get struck by lightning, and it's like the game trying to bait you into taking metal weapons and getting struck by lightning. But I'm just going to take out these 3 guys here pretty quickly. there's a few weapons I have to get from them. But for that parry room that's coming up later, I'm gonna take that shield. And we say take this guy's bow. I'm gonna use that bat I got to get some arrows over here. And for some reason that I took a small amount of damage from that lightning and actually dropped my weapon, so that's an unfortunate little time loss. Got some good arrows there though. Like I said, arrows are always really important in this run. Alright, so this run, this room right here, I have to whistle at the start because I want these keys to fly over to me so I can shoot them really easily. And that one looked like it wasn't going to for a second. In addition to that, I'm going to throw some bombs in here. Well, I'm bad, so I'm going to try to throw bombs in there and fail at it. But I need to walk in here so the enemies spawn. And, you know, it's one of the skull camps, so I can just blow up the barrels and get headshots on the heads. And it actually went really well. Despite missing the first bomb, that was actually pretty good. Yeah, I got really lucky there. Sometimes, like, there's the actual skeleton behind the head, or in front of the head, and you can't actually shoot him, so it's annoying. Yeah, it was the puddle. It must have been the puddle. Alright, so just some electric shoes here. This room's actually pretty cool. I like this room a lot. I like this room a lot. And yo, Pulse with the raid. What's up, Pulse? I'm just commentating for my GDQ submission right now, so I'm gonna get back to that. But Pulse, I love you, and thank you so much for the raid, friend. So I'm gonna jump down here towards this guy and then bullet time. I'm jumping towards this guy simply because I need to pick up his bow. And these two guys over there can be difficult, especially when I get lightning strikes like that because it shakes my screen like crazy. So I'm gonna have to stasis that guy probably. Let me take the bow. Yeah, that was a little unfortunate. The lightning in this room can really ruin this, and I stasis the wrong enemy. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this room can get sticky really easily. How are you guys all doing from Pulse's stream, though? It's good to see you guys. I'm just kind of working on a GDQ submission right now, so I'm in commentary mode, so I'm sorry if I'm not talking to chat much. But I want to get through this so I can, you know, get a GDQ submission. Alright, and this room is actually probably one of the worst. This room is horrible. So, my number one priority here is hitting these enemies all off of their horses. Because when they're on horses, they can do a lot of stuff to you. Like, you see that guy right there? That guy's absolutely murdered me. But yeah, this room is really bad. This is actually, most people consider this to be one of the worst rooms in Trial of the Sword. Simply because there's enemies running around everywhere on horses, and it's really hard to control them. But I'm gonna try to get all three of these guys to come over at once. And then I'm gonna Cryonis block jump here into bullet time, and I'm just gonna headshot all three. And we got lightning again. Alright, let's see if I can get this last guy. You see how the screen's like shaking because of the lightning? It gets kind of crazy when that happens. That was actually pretty good. This room can go really, really horribly. Alright, so now we have a Stalnox. This is actually a pretty easy fight, and we're gonna get some useful weapons from it as well. But I'm gonna stasis him right as he tries to turn here. And then instantly switch to this weapon. And I'm gonna try to get as many double hits as I can. Alright, that was pretty good. A little unfortunate here at the end. But that was an alright Stalnox, I'll take it. And I'm gonna take all of his elemental weapons here. Especially gonna make sure I take the Frostblade and the Thunderblade. Those ones are really useful. The spear isn't as useful, but it's kind of hard to not accidentally take it because it's just sitting right there. Let's do this first room. This is one of the rest areas where we actually have to take kind of a lot of stuff. So we're gonna take ourselves some pants here, and these are gonna be like the Flamebreaker pants. They're gonna give us protection from the fire. The next area is kind of based on around Death Mountain, so we're gonna take fire damage when we're there. I'm gonna take some arrows as well, and then from this chest here, we're gonna receive 3 ancient arrows. Ancient arrows are gonna prove to be very useful in later parts of the final trials where we have to take out some guardians, so very useful to have. But here we're in the fire parts. And I grabbed this blade right here, the frost blade, for a very specific reason, that we can take out fire enemies in one shot with it. So it's pretty useful. There's a lot of fire Lizalfos and enemies of that nature coming up here in a bit. I gotta let him suck up my bomb. Okay, there we go. So yeah, once again, elemental stuff's really useful here. Especially in this room. This room can get a little bit on the scary side of things. We have to take out a lot of Lizalfos that are going to try to shoot arrows at us, and if I take a shot from this, it's going to hurt a lot. Because these guys actually do a lot of damage. So I'm going to take the bow as well, and some fire arrows. And we just got to fly around and just take out these other guys. And for these other ones here, I like to come in from above and do a down slash. It's a little bit slower to do that, but I find it to be safer. Less chance that I get bopped in the face by an arrow. But as long as the enemy comes in contact with your ice weapon when it is charged, they will die in one hit if they are a fire elemental enemy. And you have to be really careful at the end as well. You saw how the camera kind of stopped and changed directions. You can actually fall in the lava when that happens, because he loses some height when the cutscene starts. But it's really slow to wait for the cutscene, so... Alright, I need to headshot this guy. And then I'm going to take him out with the fire weapon. I mean the ice weapon. And I'm going to take his meteor rod. The meteor rod's going to be useful once we get to the ice part. So that's going to be cool. But I'm going to use bullet time here to take out this moblin. And I didn't get that many headshots on him, so that kind of sucks. Alright, there we go. That was a little sloppy. But at least the Wizrobe didn't start flying around. When the Wizrobe starts flying around, things can go south really easily. Yeah, I jumped a little too much there. I didn't get enough, I didn't have enough height when I started the bullet time, so Link came down a little bit early. Alright, I didn't get him on the down slash, but that's fine. Alright, this room, I do not like this room at all. I find this room to be pretty difficult. You have to hit these enemies with a metal box that you're gonna see here in a second. Black Moblins Plus are some of the more difficult enemies to take out. And I have to find this metal box here. Oh, here it is. I was having trouble finding that. Yeah, there's a metal box down in the lava here, which you can pick up, and I sometimes have trouble finding it. I'm just gonna take out these enemies here with the box. If you hit them down hard enough with motion controls, you can actually just one-shot them. And there should be a bow around here as well that I'm gonna take. And if I don't get the bow, which looks like I'm not getting it because I don't see it anywhere, there's a bow from a chest I can take here in a second, so this is the last guy we gotta take out. There we go. Sometimes you can climb up on the box right there and save a little bit of time, but it didn't happen right there, unfortunately. Alright, so I'm glad we got through that room. That room's a little bit on the tough side of things. Alright, so now we have the Igneo Talus. So it's a talus that's basically on fire, and you gotta hit it with some ice. So it'll stop being on fire, so you can actually climb on top of it. And actually staying on top of this guy at the start is pretty difficult. And that's good, we got the one cycle, cool. Double hits are almost required for that one cycle right there. If you do not get double hits, the weapon I'm currently using isn't actually strong enough to take him out before he'll usually throw you off. But there is actually a more recent strat with a sledgehammer for this, but it does require a little bit of damage boosting, which can be a little difficult sometimes. Alright, so I'm gonna take a royal bow, and I honestly can't remember what chest it's in because I don't get the royal bow usually. Obviously not that chest. It might be in the next area. Yeah, this is when we get Stone Smasher. Alright, so we're about to be in the ice area, and I'm gonna go ahead and equip the Meteor Rod. Because that's gonna serve as our cold resistance. And that Stone Smash is gonna be released, so there's actually some really tough enemies we have to take out in this part. Hello? This tree can really get annoying sometimes. Alright, so that was pretty alright. Usually that's faster if I have the better bow that I was supposed to pick up in that one room, but it fell into the lava, so I couldn't pick it up. Alright, and this is where the use of the Magma Rod is going to actually come into play. I'm just going to kind of use it a little bit here, and I'm going to swap it again to recharge it. Swapping elemental weapons actually instantly recharges it, which is pretty heckin' cool. So just gotta grab some more ancient arrows here, and that's gonna be useful for the later parts of the final trials. But this tower here, I'm gonna make use of that Thunder Blade we got earlier, and we can just two-shot these enemies with it. There's actually an enemy up top that I gotta take a weapon from, and that's actually a silver moblin, so that's a little bit on the scary side of things. And I'm continually swapping back and forth between these and my cold resistance weapon. Actually having something like a Meteor Rod or something out gives you cold resistance. But yeah, I'm just gonna get some double hits with the weapon I stole from this moblin. And that was actually pretty good. Alright. So yeah, like I said earlier about double hits like on the talismans and stuff, we're gonna do some of that with the enemies here in this part. Because there's actually some pretty strong enemies that we're gonna run into. And yo, some thanks to the host friend. Hope your stream was great. And Rainbow Rare with a resub, thank you so much.
Zant.
I really appreciate it, guys.
Helping.
Alright, so I'm gonna shoot this guy with a fire arrow. I'm gonna come over here, and I'm gonna shoot this boy with a shock arrow. I'm just gonna headshot each of these just to take them out. And I'm gonna use the rest of this to spin attack this bokoblin here. And then we can just finish him off with a spear or something. There's also a shield here I want to take. I didn't mean to take the broadsword, but it can be useful. Alright, so I'm going to shock arrow this guy. He's going to go... Sometimes he runs and tries to get this explosive barrel to try and take me out, but... they usually don't let him do that. And also, this Blizzard Rod is going to be for a new strat that I'm going to do a little bit later. Well, it's good to hear some. Yeah, I'm just working on a GDQ submission right now. I'm trying to commentate over this a little bit. And yo, Percy, thanks for the 2 months, man. I appreciate it. Alright, so here's the Frost Talus. So this is one of the slower Taluses to take out. I actually have to wait for him to fully get up before I can really do anything to him. And I've got to melt him. So I'm going to throw the Fire Rod at him. And hope he doesn't trample me. Alright, good. Alright. Looking pretty good here. Yeah, for whatever reason, crush weapons do a lot of damage to Taluses. And I accidentally walked into his icy area. But yeah, that guy won't even just burn you. You literally like can't stand on top of him without freezing. Which is a little unfortunate. So, first use of ancient arrows here. This room is a blue Lionel, but I'm just gonna swap over to ancient arrows and boom, you're gone. Have a nice day. Alright, so this room, I'm gonna take a royal bow and some arrows. I'm gonna try to pick up, at the start here, I'm gonna try to pick up some fairies. Just so I don't die in the last room. The last rooms of this run can be kind of unforgiving if you mess up, so just as a safety precaution, I'd usually like to take some fairies. But yeah, royal bow. It's gonna be our bow for the rest of the run. I'm just gonna grab some more arrows. And I'm actually going to go ahead and eat all this random stuff I have too, just some extra health, because this next room is really tough. I have to do a lot of deflections of guardians in this next room. And parries are pretty tough, so if I mess up some of these, I'm gonna actually just take them out with the crusher we have. But yeah, this is gonna get really wild here in a second when like the 3 wake up. And that sucks already. I'm already missing. There we go. Alright, so now we're gonna have a couple others start waking up. And what I'm gonna do, I have a strat I like to do here where 2 are gonna start aiming at me. I'm gonna block out 1 so it can't see me. And that way, he will start charging fully, and then I can shoot him quicker. Ah, that's not good. Alright, so now we just have 3 more to go. I'm kind of worried about this since I only have 1 shield. This can get a little sticky if you have to do this. You can take out many of these without even having a shield, so let's hope this goes well. Okay. I didn't actually lose my shield, so that's good. Okay, got 1. Alright, my shield broke. So that's an extra ancient arrow I have. You usually end up with an extra one, so as long as I don't miss one later, we'll be good. I'm gonna take this last guy out here with some hits from this weapon. But yeah, in my opinion, this is the hardest room. You gotta be really good at parries to do this room successfully, and that's just something I've got to practice a little bit more of. But it sucks that this is so late in the run. It's really hard to get to this and practice it. But overall, that was pretty alright compared to some previous runs that I've had. I've literally lost runs here, because actually in Trial of the Sword, if you die, you just die. There's nothing else to it. You're done. It's over. There's nothing else to it. You just straight up die. Alright, so one thing that's gonna suck here is I don't have a shield, so I can't block jump. But this guy tends to not notice you sometimes, so you have to usually walk over here a lot. Yeah, just gonna take him out with an ancient arrow. And ancient arrows are basically the summary of this next part of the run. We're just gonna use a whole bunch of them and take out a lot of these guardians. But yeah, I mentioned dying in Trial of the Sword. Basically, if you die in this area, you'd have to, and you want to continue your run, you'd have to repeat the section of it. So I'd have to repeat Final Trials, for example. Like if I died right now. But usually that just warrants a reset in runs. And this guy likes to not notice you. So yeah, as you can see, these ancient arrows are proven to be pretty useful. It's going to be pretty easy until we get to about the last room. Yeah, the last room can be a bit of a pain sometimes. There's some things that can go wrong in it, and I'm getting kind of unlucky here. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit on the unlucky side.
I had a dream that I
guardians.
accidentally used my prime sub on someone else. Good thing I'm not that silly.
Thank you, Fox. I appreciate it. Alright, good. Alright, we got this Guardian Stalker over here. Let him get a little bit closer to me. And usually there's a shot I can go for right here where I straight up try to shoot one all the way from that one bullet time I just did up here to the top at this guy. It's really tough to go for though, and I usually don't go for it. And I'm not going for it now because I don't have a spare arrow, so if I missed it, I would just be kind of, you know, SOL. I wouldn't be able to take out the later enemies that I have to, so I'm just gonna come up here and pop him. Yeah, it's a pretty tough shot. Since we don't have a long-range bow in this part of the run, there's actually quite, you know, it's actually a very difficult shot to shoot him all the way up there. But like before, the weapon that we have, the Falcon Bow, does not carry over from the middle trials, so we don't get that here. Alright, so this room is actually not that bad of a room. I have Stasis the Lionel. Take him out, and then I'm gonna take out all these guys like this. And then I'm gonna attempt to bullet time this guy. Got him. Alright, that went pretty well, except this guy's still alive for some reason. You didn't die. What are you doing, bud? Alright, so that's basically it. That strat with the ice rod is actually something that's pretty new. That was a strat that we started doing a little bit recently. But it's so much better. What we used to do there is use the fire rod and actually go into bullet time. And just shoot them all in the head off of their horses. But yeah, that strat with the blizzard rod is so much better than what we used to do. So that room went pretty well. I'm pretty happy with that. And now we just gotta run to the end and pull out the Master Sword, and that is time. Currently world record for this is 38 minutes, 53 seconds. I'm pretty behind that. I'm still kind of figuring out some strats for this. This is not my main category I run. And there we go. So yeah, that is Breath of the Wild Trial of the Sword. Okay, that went really well, actually.